Welcome back, guys. Today we're going to take a look at this, my foldable stairs or staircase or ladder or whatever you want to call it. I will be showing you today how I built this contraption and how get it to work. It's a rather long video, but I hope you stay tuned for the end and see how it actually goes for me. I'm very happy with it so far and it works really great. Before we start, I just want to ask you to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done that. The ladder in question is done because I did fell down, and this has been planned for a long time. If you didn't see me fall down off the normal ladder, take a look at the video above. But now it's time to begin, so let's go ahead and start the video.
While having the floor here, and we have the second floor somewhere like this. So basically we want a ladder that goes up to the second floor. But I want to be able to actually fold this one up. It actually goes something like this. So we have the ladder here, and for it to be able to tilt up like that, as you can see, if we have the length like this, it will not fit inside of this hole. So what I do is I add in the middle. So let's say we draw the ladder like this, and inside there will be the steps. So if I cut this in half and set a hinge here, this one will be able to fall up. This little bit goes up there, and that one hangs down like that. And there will of course be a hinge here as well. I have a construction here that I've built. On the other side I have the normal ladder that I've been using. I have a hinge here and a hinge up there. So basically what I'm going to have is some kind of wire that goes up that you can pull this all up. So basically what will happen is that this one folds like this and then goes up all the way around and up like that. Ladder folds up like this and then goes in and all the way up. And this will make it possible to hide and get the ladder away. So basically down again, it folds down. Like that. And you fold it up. So basically when you have this cut out, the sides to the stairs, you need to mark up firstly where do you want all your steps. In my case I'm going to have 28 centimeters between each. So I mark that up in the end like this. So basically I have this jig here that I have built up. And as you can see, it's just the same angle as the boards or the steps will be on the ladder. And then on the side I added those brackets here or plates, and that's because it will slot on to this one here and sit firmly. And that makes it possible for me to move it back and forth and have the angle that I want. So I just mark it out, I go to the angle where I am, and then I can draw a line. And I will also be using this one actually later when I'm attaching the parts here. So let's create a couple of pieces that the steps will sit on. When we have it together here, I found these scrap pieces that I have laying around of plywood, and that will be perfectly fine. It's good to glue, And it's also good for actually making sure that the steps is somewhat aligned to it. The width that I'm doing here is somewhere around, I think it was 45 millimeters. Here I go down to that width. And then I get this piece out. The width of this is 20 centimeters, and that's to fit above or between the sides of the ladder. So I go back, align this with that size. Attach this one here. When you have all these pieces here, it's time to go back and glue them up and screw them in place. When we are back here, this is a rather simple task. 1, 2, 3 and 4. We need 4 of them, so we have 4 there. Take our wooden glue. Take our piece here. We align it up with this one here. As you can see, I have this plate here, and that's because I can align it to that edge and it doesn't stick out. Unfortunately, I don't have enough tools to clamp this in place, so I'm actually screwing this in place instead. And no, I'm not pre-drilling it, because that's not needed on this type of wood and this thin screws. It will hold anyways. And the screws itself is just there to hold it until the glue actually dries up. And that is what will keep it together. Basically we have this done now. It's time for doing the stairs. The stairs will be the same material, and that's this, 2 inches thick and the same width, 200 millimeters, and they will be attaching like that. So we need to cut them. The length is 60 centimeters long, and that is, I made it in the middle, and that should be perfectly fine for this staircase. Attaching them here is pretty simple. A lot of glue inside, and I will be driving screws down straight like that, and also from that side afterwards. When doing this, you always start from the bottom side and go upwards, otherwise you will not be able to actually screw them together. So basically I would be attaching the top one here now, and screwing that one in as well, and go forth. The thing is, I do not have enough steps, and therefore I'm going to do each second one right now, and that should be more than fine, and then I can go back later on and add the rest, and the rest will actually be added from the bottom only. I was looking at hinges that looks like this one here, and that should be fine in some sense. The problem here with this type of hinges is that, if we go a little bit closer, let's see here, if you look inside here, you will be able to see that those are not welded together, and the same goes on this end here. They are not welded inside here, and due to that, basically when the ladder pulls itself apart, we will have the hinge on the bottom side here. So what if we stand here? We will have a force that goes downwards, though this will be pushing together. That means that if we split this force up, we will have one force going that way and one force going that way. So what this does, this one will be pulled apart in such direction. And if we have the hinge that we have here, it may even open up further due to that it's not welded together. The second factor here is, will the screws hold together? That will most likely not be an issue, because I will be using very, very long, very, very thick screws, not this one, but even bigger ones I have. The third is, will this hinge in the middle actually work? Is this one actually thick enough to work? I think so. So I will be welding the ends together here to make sure that this one is a little bit stronger. And to be able to cope with it perfectly fine, I also will be welding on a little bit extra material in the end here to make it a little bit longer. It's time to build the upper hinge, and for that I'm going to use some scrap that I had lying around, like square tubing, 20 by 20 millimeter. I have these washers here that would act like the hinge itself, so I'm going to weld them together. Now I use this M10 bolt to stick together, one on each side. So let's start with the first side. So basically I thread it on to here. I need 14. So therefore, that's the first part, and then we need something to hinge in the ends, and we need something in the middle, and I think you will get it when we get a little bit further. If you don't want to, you can look at this one I made up here, and this is how it basically will look like. So we need to make those now. I have one here, I need one more, so let's cut that one up. We also need a way to attach them to the side to become the hinge up there. And to do that, I found this old board that I've been using for something else. So I basically just tuck them in like this and draw a line on the other side, because that will be more than enough. And they will basically be sitting out on that one welded together, and that should be fine. So let's cut this up. Basically we have the hinge something like that, and that part in the end here will be welded against the frame of this garage, and that should be strong enough to carry this up and down without a problem. What I'm going to do is tack them into place, and then it's just a matter of doing the same on the other side and bring it all down and welding it solid. The stairs are now, or the ladder is now in place. Everything is welded properly. All the steps have been screwed and glued in. And it's time for the mechanism to lift it. I bought this winch the other day, and I think this one would be very, very good for this purpose. It should be able to pull at least 500 kilos, and that's more than enough. Unfortunately, I need to cut this in half to get this working. So let's get this one in place first, and we will continue with the rest. The problem here is that we have this handle, and the handle sits rather long distance out, so I can't just mount it on the wall. So instead of, let's say this is the wall here, I'm actually going to mount it on the side like that. And I found these scrap pieces here, and I'm going to use them as so. And this one will attach to the wall. And this will give me a proper distance to use this. But before we do that, I'm going to round this off a little bit. Do a 45 degree angle on them. That one needs to sit something like that. The problem is that we have all the holes inside, so we need to get this roll off. To attach this here, I found this cabin bolts. It's unfortunately a little bit too long, so I need to add some washers in the end, but you take what you have, kind of. So let's get a couple of holes. I think 3 will be more than enough. But before we do that, we need to add up a couple of screw holes. So let's mark that out. As I said, they are a tiny bit too long, so I need to add a washer and a nut. Not having this in the way, we're attaching it to this wall here, and it's this rather large beam in the back. The wire will go down in the middle point here, and I'm going to use this kind of bracket to go through the wire. I would supposedly have the wire attaching the hook into this one here. I do not have proper clamps, so I'm just going to get it through. So guys, it's now done. There are a couple of things that I need to improve. For instance, the junction point in the top for the line itself needs to be a little bit stronger. I do not trust it. It's rated for 400 kilos or something like that. But I would like to see it a little bit stronger instead. Other than that, it seemed to be working. I mean, I can walk up and down. It doesn't budge or anything. I mean, it moves. I mean, I'm more than happy with it. So let's try to wind this one up in the top and see how that goes. One thing to think about when you do this is that you need to push this one out yourself, otherwise it will lock into place in the bottom here. But that's rather simple. It's just to nudge it with your foot down here, and then you get it up. And as soon as it has started, it just continues up by its own. have it. It hangs freely on top of there, but it's not in the way. I mean, I'm long, I'm 2 meters almost, and this one is still 230 up in the air. So I'm pretty happy with it. It does work, and the same goes when pulling it down. You need to be a little bit gentle, of course, because if you let it go now, it will go very, very fast up. So that's it, guys. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I mean, I'm very, very happy with the result. It does work really great. So the last 20 seconds or 30 seconds there will be somewhat where I show how this is done, a small couple of pieces. Other than that, don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you want to see more. And I see you next time. Bye.
La 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 la.